Welcome to Andy Reads the Bible, where we're reading through the Bible from Genesis to Revelation in 1 year. I'm your host, Andy Brassfield. Today's January the 22nd, and I'll be reading Exodus 15 through 17 from the Message translation. Exodus chapter 15. Then Moses and the Israelites sang this song to God, giving voice together. I'm singing my heart out to God. What a victory! He pitched horse and rider into the sea. God is my strength, God is my song, and yes, God is my salvation. This is the kind of God I have, and I'm telling the world. This is the God of my father. I'm spreading the news far and wide. God is a fighter, pure God, through and through. Pharaoh's chariots and army he dumped in the sea. The elite of his officers he drowned in the Red Sea. While ocean waters poured over them, they sank like a rock in the deep blue sea. Your strong right hand, God, shimmers with power. Your strong right hand shatters the enemy. In your mighty majesty you smash your upstart enemies. You let loose your hot anger and burn them to a crisp. At a blast from your nostrils, the waters pile up. Tumbling streams dammed up, wild oceans curled into a swamp. The enemy spoke, I'll pursue, I'll hunt them down. I'll divide up the plunder. I'll glut myself on them. I'll pull out my sword. My fist will send them reeling. You blew with all your might, and the sea covered them. They sank like a lead weight in the majestic waters. Who compares with you among gods, O God? Who compares with you in power and holy majesty, in awesome praises, wonder-working God? You stretch out your right hand, and the earth swallowed them up. But the people you redeemed, you led in merciful love. You guided them under your protection to your holy pasture. When people heard, they were scared. Philistines writhed and trembled. Yes, even the head men of Edom were shaken, and the big bosses in Moab. Everybody in Canaan panicked and fell faint. Dread and terror sent them reeling. Before your brandished right arm, they were struck dumb like a stone. Until your people crossed over and entered, O God, until the people you made crossed over and entered. You brought them and planted them on the mountain of your heritage, the place where you live, the place you made, your sanctuary, Master, that you established with your own hands. Let God rule forever, for eternity. Chapter 16. On the 15th day of the second month after they had left Egypt, the whole company of Israel moved on from Elim to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai. The whole company of Israel complained against Moses and Aaron there in the wilderness. The Israelites said, Why didn't God let us die in comfort in Egypt, where we had lamb stew and all the bread we could eat? You've brought us out into this wilderness to starve us to death, the whole company of Israel. God said to Moses, I'm going to rain bread down from the skies for you. The people will go out and gather each day's ration. I'm going to test them to see if they'll live according to my teaching or not. On the sixth day, when they prepare what they have gathered, it will turn out to be twice as much as their daily ration. Moses and Aaron told the people of Israel, This evening you will know that it is God who brought you out of Egypt, and in the morning you will see the glory of God. Yes, He's listened to your complaints against Him. You haven't been complaining against us, but against God. Moses said, Since it will be God who gives you meat for your meal in the evening and your fill of bread in the morning, it's God who will have listened to your complaints against Him. Who are we in all of this? You haven't been complaining to us, you've been complaining to God. Moses instructed Aaron, "Tell the whole company of Israel, come near to God, he's heard your complaints." When Aaron gave out the instructions to the whole company of Israel, they turned to face the wilderness. And there it was, the glory of God visible in the cloud. God spoke to Moses, "I've listened to the complaints of the Israelites. Now tell them, at dusk you will eat meat, and at dawn you will eat your fill of bread, and you will realize that I am God, your God." That evening, quail flew in and covered the camp, and in the morning there was a layer of dew all over the camp. When the layer of dew had lifted, there on the wilderness ground was a fine, flaky something, fine as frost, on the ground. The Israelites took one look and said to one another, "Manna, what is it?" They had no idea what it was. So Moses told them, "It's the bread God has given you to eat, and these are God's instructions. Gather enough for each person, about 2 quarts per person. Gather enough for everyone in your tent." Chapter 17. Directed by God, the whole company of Israel moved on by stages from the wilderness of sin. They set camp at Rephidim. There wasn't a drop of water for the people to drink. The people took Moses to task. "Give us water to drink." But Moses said, "Why pester me? Why are you testing God?" But the people were thirsty for water there. They complained to Moses, "Why did you take us from Egypt and drag us out here with our children and animals to die of thirst?" Moses cried out to God in prayer, "What can I do with these people? Any minute now they'll kill me." God said to Moses, "Go on out ahead of the people, taking with you some of the elders of Israel. Take the staff you used to strike the Nile, and go. I'm going to be present before you there on the rock at Horeb. You are to strike the rock. Water will gush out of it, and the people will drink." Moses did what he said, and the elders of Israel right there watching. He named the place Massah, testing place, and Meribah, quarreling, because of the quarreling of the Israelites and because of their testing God when they said, "Is God here with us or not?" Amalek came and fought Israel at Rephidim. Moses ordered Joshua, "Select some men for us and go out and fight Amalek. Tomorrow I will take my stand on top of the hill holding God's staff." Joshua did what Moses ordered in order to fight Amalek. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went to the top of the hill. It turned out that whenever Moses raised his hands, Israel was winning, but whenever he lowered his hands, Amalek was winning. But Moses' hands got tired, so they got a stone and set it under him. He sat on it, and Aaron and Hur held up his hands, one on each side. So his hands remained steady until the sun went down. Joshua defeated Amalek and its army in battle. God said to Moses, "Write this up as a reminder to Joshua to keep it before him, because I will most certainly wipe the very memory of Amalek off the face of the earth." Moses built an altar and named it "God My Banner." He said, "Salute God's rule, God at war with Amalek, always and forever." And this concludes today's reading. You see a pattern here? The people flip-flopping. One minute they're celebrating, trusting God, thanking God. The next minute they're wishing they were back in Egypt. I'm no better than they are. People go through cycles. People have ups and downs. People have good days and bad days. But one thing remains the same, and that is that God is faithful, and we should trust Him. But because we're people, we don't always do everything that we should do. Today's episode is brought to you by Sugarwood Handyman, where we get your honey-do list done. Small jobs, odd jobs, home repairs, and more. To learn more about how Sugarwood Handyman can help you check off your honeydew list, visit facebook.com/sugarwoodhandyman. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app. Just search for Andy Reads the Bible. Our podcast page is located at andybible.libsyn.com. Thank you for listening. God bless, and I'll see you tomorrow.